Okay, so soon I will conduct a microscopic examination, and perhaps I'll make the effort to conclude the robots series, because you're really, we're almost done with that, and then we can continue. Get back to the fairy tale that we need to conclude as well. For now, I want to clarify, in the best way that I can, because I need to clarify something. I understood, a couple of weeks ago, and it's only getting stronger, that many people that are starting to be aware of my videos and everything that I speak about, they started to interpret the situation in Venus as a cautionary tale for humans. And supposedly that's why many of them are so interested in learning more about Venus and the fairy tale and the situation currently on Venus, because it's kind of like a cautionary tale. And it's your right to interpret whatever you want in whatever way, but you need to understand that first of all, this is practically, it is a practical issue that aliens, the Cherubs, my species, you started war with them when you took my children from me. You started the war. That was after a long series of abuses, never-ending abuses. But this was the last straw. Taking our children from us, it was the last straw. And now you are at war with another civilization that is far stronger than you are. And it's not a cautionary tale. It's a war. You are part of a war that you started. And we told you before it happened that we will not forgive this thing. That everything else that you've done to me and for so many years, perhaps it could have been forgiven. If you had maybe in an imaginary kind of alternative universe, if you wanted even to make amends, but of course you don't. But this one, I told you before it happened several times that you need to stop it before it happens, because after it happens, after this kind of this taskir sad, the social worker reviewed, submitted to the court, this is a declaration of war. And I told you that's going to happen, and that's the situation. It's not a cautionary tale. It's war. You are in the middle of a war. Although it should be said that, and as I was starting to say, I didn't mean to, my intention, again, it's only in the author's intention. So you can dispute it if you want, but I did not at any point, I have knowledge regarding things that happened in Venus even a long time ago, and certainly, yes, it is, these things are related to what I call the three. It's related to what I call the three sister fairy tale. That is kind of a fairy tale that I devised or articulated about 2 years ago, and as I said, it's an original fairy tale. You cannot find equivalent in anywhere anywhere in any corpus of fairy tale, other corpus of fairy tales or fantastic literature. But certainly, it's intentionally, contains intentionally, explicitly contains elements from motives from the literature of this world. Of course, in any case, this should not, my intention was never to present you kind of a cautionary tale, or to tell you, look what happened to them, it was going to happen to you, because first of all, it's a different story. I tell you just now, it's not the same situation, it's a different story. And they had problems, after the apocalypse. It happened a long time ago. And also, presumably one might say that, the ancient past of the Venusians, that is somehow it's related to the issue, the things that happened in the fairy tale. It could be argued that this is the past of the Earth, as much as it's the past of Venus. So it's your past actually. So, but the key issue is that, I mean, you have committed cruelties, unimaginable cruelties throughout the 20th century and beginning of the 21st century. And I mean, you were already punished. I mean, most certainly during the 1980s, but even before that. And again, one Caribbean starship is here since, like, my estimation, like 8 years ago, or something like that. And you already, I mean, and I had predecessors, more than one. I don't know how many, but certainly more than one. And so you have your messengers, your prophets. You had like your punishments. I mean, why do you think that now? I mean, it's the time for cautionary tale. This is war. You started a war. I mean, you need to, like, to get in terms with reality, like, to understand what's the situation, like, to understand the gravity of the situation. It's not the time for cautionary tales. I lament the fact that maybe, I mean, it was interpreted this way because, I mean, again, it's important for me to actually, like, to tell the Titans things about their nature and about their past and about their planet and things like that, because, I mean, I understood more than ever, like, lately, but it was already, I mean, evident to me, like, during the beginning of this journey, and I wrote about it, like, during the early 2020, that it is kind of like there is a cult of, I call it the cult of Aphrodite, and they said it, I mean, understand that I'm like kind of like people see me as like a person that belongs to the cult, even though I'm not. So, and I understood, I mean, already very early in this journey that, I mean, there is a real problem, that, I mean, that we don't understand their own nature, and I didn't understand why at the time, but I mean, now I understand much better, and it's even if they are evil, it's their right to know this stuff. But so, but I do not intend to present kind of like, I mean, Venusian history or related history or even Earth-related history as a cautionary tale. Not at all. You are past every cautionary tale. I mean, you are in the middle of a war, and you've committed so many cruelties, and you are still. I mean, every day that I'm imprisoned, and every day that I do not see my daughters, is another act of, like, it's crimes. It's another crime against humanity. And the fact that you don't understand it and you still think that, I mean, people are trying to educate you with cautionary tales while you're in the middle of a war, I mean, just, I mean, you need to like land, like, on the ground, like, I mean, to put your feet on the ground and to come to terms with reality. Reality is, this is not the time for cautionary tales, and nobody's trying to educate you with cautionary tales. I mean, you are already 100 years into this conflict that you started, of course, and now you actually declared war with the cherubs, and they will not have any mercy on you. And it should also be said, and I've said it like a couple of days ago, but I will say it again. Perhaps you are also, perhaps, I mean, kind of like, I mean, the cautionary tale interpretation of the current event, perhaps it's supported by the fact that, I mean, some people, I mean, some kind of like people, like, I mean, futurists or science fiction authors, I mean, that know nothing about, like, the existence of life in this universe, and they don't know even, like, that about the Titans, and so they devise, like, the idea of the great filters, like, I mean, filters are presumably like barriers for, I mean, civilization to become, like, I mean, interplanetary or galactic civilization. And they're kind of, I mean, presumably there's like early filters, presumably, like, I mean the planet must, like, be in kind of like, I mean, in kind of like, I mean, like a specific range from the star, and there should be, like, water, presumably. I mean, all these filters are wrong, by the way. I spoke about it quite a bit. Everything is wrong. Everything that you think about life is wrong. Everything. Just, I mean, you can throw away to trash everything. And presumably there are also, like, late filters, and presumably, I mean, there might be filters that, I mean, that happened after the situation of, like, where humans are currently now. And if this is the situation, this presumably should be the filters that, I mean, you should be most, like, be afraid of. Like, I mean, because if presumably you just, I mean, you see the ruins of alien civilization, I mean, so it means that, I mean, there was that is very advanced. So it means that there's kind of a late filter that, I mean, stop that, like, I mean, stop this civilization, because, I mean, presumably now they do not exist. So you should presumably be, I mean, I say presumably many times because none of it is true. Anyway, I mean, it's maybe you think along these lines, that, I mean, then, I mean, according to this kind of line of thought, I mean, like, to see alien ruins would be, like, I mean, like a kind of, like, I mean, proof that kind of like a huge and amorphic barrier to advanced civilization, which is kind of like it's called late filter, might await humanity in its like near future or distant future, but anyway, before they become interplanetary or even in interstellar civilization. So maybe you should be very afraid of this kind of like barrier. If presumably it's kind of like evident that it already hit another civilization like you when they were actually more advanced than you, and now they are all dead. All of this is ridiculous because everything about it is ridiculous. Everything, because all of these theories, they are all nested, they are all like, rest upon a very specific point of view of people that think that there is no life in the universe, and they try to understand why they are the only ones, and maybe they find like one like planet with alien ruins, and they try to understand what happened. But in reality, the universe and the galaxy is full of life, much more than most of you even imagined, and life is a huge phenomenon, much more diverse than any of you imagined. And the destruction of like a civilization like the human civilization, for you it's the apocalypse, but for the cherubs it's Tuesday. It's just cleaning another petri dish. They do it from time to time. It already happened in Earth, by the way, long ago. It's no big deal. Yes, from time to time you need to clean a petri dish when it's become too disgusting. Now here, tomorrow they go to another place. They have the ability to hyperspace jump or folding space. Like I like the kind of like the terminology of Frank Herbert, folding space. And so tomorrow they are today here, tomorrow, as I said, tonight we dine in hell, tomorrow Wendy's or Starbucks. Just another day in the office for these people, like in these starships that are as big as like a country, or even like small country, or even a big country. Just another day in the office. The end of humanity will be just another day in the office. Just another day in the office. So the whole great filter and like theory, it doesn't mean anything at all. It's all comes from a very specific perspective that is does not represent reality at all, and is useless in order to understand like the universe. You are old enough, like as a civilization, and mature enough as in your psychology to understand that you are not the center of nothing, not the crown of creation, not the center of the universe, not the center of nothing. Nothing. You are not the center of anything at all, not even remotely so. And kind of like in the tier list of like sentient creatures, you are maybe lower D tier. Maybe, in a good day, you are like a lower D tier. In a very good day, I would give you lower D tier. Maybe, if you are really generous, and if we exclude like mutants like the Israelis, then maybe you are lower D tier. So, and you are old enough to understand it. There are tons of civilizations, and life is life in the earth are quite diverse, but in reality it's nothing like, it's just a tiny piece of a huge puzzle of like, the phenomenon of life is so much bigger than almost anyone in earth even imagined. So during the 20th and 21st century, in science fiction and futurist circles. So your annihilation by a much stronger and much more ethical civilization wouldn't mean anything at all, like in the grand scheme of events. It will just be Tuesday. Big filter, small filter, whatever, just cleaning another petri dish. And you are old enough to understand it and to come to terms with it and to predicate, all what you are, like your agenda on reality. on reality.